Welcome to Dory Cote on Shamanism, a weekly podcast that explores one theme in shamanism throughout each month. Get comfortable, have a seat, and let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to this week's podcast. We're going to talk today about how shamanism and social activism might come together.
In a previous podcast, we've touched on shamanism and social action. Please share your personal beliefs around social activism. Do you discourage your students and others to stay out of the fray, so to speak, or to dive right in?
As I talked about in the last couple of podcasts, there's a fine balance here. I trust and know wholeheartedly that social activism and standing up, having a voice about what we know and trust and believe in our very core, in our soul, is the best path for all beings on earth. The ways of protecting and supporting not just humans, but our animals and birds and trees and the soil itself. And the capacity to have a voice around that and to be really clear about where you stand regarding the abuse of people, the abuse of animals, the rampant destruction of this planet is really important. I am not an advocate for just sitting back and, being silent or thinking that sitting and chanting Om is going to take care of the whole thing, because it has its place. It is highly important to be in that place of peace and harmony and shining your light and knowing that that makes a huge difference. At the same time, we are humans and we were gifted with a voice and we were gifted with a mind. And it is through that that we can make a difference in how this planet and other, and all its beings are being treated by those who might have ulterior motives of, money or power or other distorted ways of being. So I am a huge advocate for people, again, as I talked about in the food equality podcast last week, exercising their power through their voice, through the use of their money, by supporting activities that they know are the ways in which we can make a difference in bringing harmony to the earth, supporting the animals that are being tortured or hunted just for the sake of power or glory or money. And at the same time, we go back to how do we find the balance? Because one can become so enraged and so caught up in the chaos of all of that and the whirlwind that one can, find themselves in by getting dizzy with standing up to that kind of power. So, finding the balance, going to that place of sitting and oming, praying, filling yourself with light, sending light and love out into the world, knowing that even those who do great harm have within them this divine light, this place that is their true spirit, and that we can, by being centered, by being not just loving, but by being love, we can create an energetic field that will have an impact. But that does not take away our voice. So there's a balance there. Have a voice, stay balanced, don't get caught up in the fray.
So you are suggesting that it is very possible to both be a social activist and also to be a peaceful, non-aggressive, non-violent person. How do you see this exhibiting itself in your shamanic community of peers?
Yes, first of all, let me say I do wholeheartedly believe that it is possible to be a social activist and also be in a peaceful, non-aggressive, non-violent, spiritual place. How I see that playing out in my own life and with many of my shamanic peers is that they take a stand. They don't hold back on their opinion regarding the harm that is done to others for the sake of other beings, not just humans, but all beings for the sake of money or power or whatever. And they may march in a march, but it's about being nonviolent. It's about having an opinion. It's about spreading love. It's about letting others know the power with which you support the wellness of this planet and the wellness of all beings, and the attitude of do no harm. And you know, so people are doing a whole variety of things. The biggest part, again, I think, has to happen on a one-on-one basis, because even though we live in this huge village, it really comes down to how do we stand up in our own family and our own communities. You know, for instance, I was having a conversation some time ago with somebody who said, you know, well, I think it's fine to just spank a kid if they're acting out, and you know, that's how it was done when I was a kid, and that's the way it should be. Now, I could stand back and say nothing, or I could be really strong in my belief and say, oh no, I don't believe that at all, and this is why. You know, violence breeds violence. You're teaching a small child that the answer to any problem is to strike another person, and so on and so on and so on. Not to mention the damage to the heart and soul of this young being who has acted out and is not being treated with any kind of respect or value. So, you know, that's the way we have to bring it down to the one-on-one. No, this is not okay. You know, when you just throw all those plastic goods into the landfill, this is what happens. You know, show the sequence of events of what occurs with all of that. Take that extra step and recycle everything you use, or don't use as much plastic. How do you stop using so much plastic? Give people advice about how they can cut back on the use of disposable stuff that ends up in the landfill. Take a stand, be vocal, but not be obnoxious. Be educational, be respectful that the person you're talking to perhaps just hasn't the knowledge to understand what harm they're doing. And don't diminish them, don't shame them because they're doing something harmful. Educate, do it in a respectful way, and at the same time, remember to maintain that balance within yourself of, you know, shining light. Everybody is a divine light, no matter what they're doing, no matter what they're saying, no matter what they're doing. In them is the spark of divinity. And if we can light that light, if we can spark that spark, then what a difference we make.
From your perspective, how does the effectiveness of prayer or meditation compare with marching and being vocal about a position or belief?
I believe you have to have both. I don't think they live in separation from one another. I believe it is really important to pray, meditate, remember to go to that place of remembering that everybody is entitled to be treated with respect and dignity, and maintain that place of balance within yourself, that you see that divine light, that spark that is within everybody, and don't hold back on your own opinion. So if marching feels like it's the right thing for you, or going on a benefit walk for the benefit of, the National Resources Council, or, a march to help with the treatment of breast cancer, which is, unfortunately rampant in our North American culture. Whatever feels like it's really important to you, show up. It's okay to show up, but it is not okay to get caught up in chaos and confusion and violence and aggressiveness and disparaging the opinions of others. Everybody is entitled to an opinion, and everybody is entitled to space on this planet. And whether a person agrees with you or doesn't agree with you, it's okay for you to have your opinion, but not denigrate the other person in the process.
Do you believe it's possible to be like Ghandi in our approach to social change?
I do. It's challenging to be like Ghandi, to be that human who is nonviolent, does not respond to violence, stands up for what they believe in, and is not frightened by the violence that is coming at them. And that's a really difficult thing to do. Going back to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago regarding the current political climate, there is a lot of violence that is being created. There's violent energy, there's violent words, there's a lot of trauma being perpetrated out there. And we can either send more violent words back out to try to counterattack the violence that's being perpetrated, or we can stand back and say, I'm not going to respond to that violence. I am going to do everything I can to render that violence in some neutralize it. I'm going to do everything I can to not add to it, to not scream at the person who's screaming at me, because that serves no purpose whatsoever other than to feed the frenzy. So, being like a Ghandi is what I aspire to, being that person who has an opinion, who knows and understands what is of greatest value in terms of protecting and ensuring the equality of all people, of all cultures, of all religious beliefs, of all animals, of all beings, and yet at the same time not responding with violent words, violent actions, or aggressiveness.
This completes our prepared questions on shamanism and social activism. Do you have anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, thank you. This was a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Dory Cote on Shamanism. We'd love to hear your thoughts, stories, reactions, and questions. Come on over to dorycote.com and join the conversation. And tune in next week for more on this subject, or next month for a new subject. You can subscribe to this podcast in iTunes, or sign up on dorycote.com to receive notices when the podcasts are posted. That's Dory, D-O-R-Y, and Cote, C-O-T-E.com. Drumming and rattling by Dory Cote and Terry Morgan. Technical assistance and audio production by JillHackett.com. And this is Susan Savelle, wishing you many blessings in your life. We hope to have you join us next time.